The Committee of Finance is back on the record. It's been a long day, but we have some more to go. Before us is the Virgin Islands Police Department. We have Ray Martinez, Commissioner. I'm going to allow you to put your name and title on the record. Beginning with you, yourself.
Ray Anthony Martinez, Police Commissioner.
Thank you. Next.
Mario M. Brooks, Assistant Police Commissioner.
Next.
Jason Morris, Deputy Commissioner.
Next.
Wayne Richards, HR Director.
Next.
Sandra Webster, Chief Financial Officer.
Say it again.
Sandra Webster, Chief Financial Officer.
Thank you. Next.
Florence Clearsant, Federal Grant Coordinator.
Okay, you also have some individuals that's participated virtually?
Yes, Senator.
Okay, Miss Brian McIntosh. Miss Watley. Okay, you also have some individuals that's participating virtually?
Yes, Senator.
Okay,
Good afternoon, Carolyn Watley, Director of Planning and Research.
Miss Brian McIntosh.
Brian McIntosh, PIPD, Facilities and Properties.
Kishana Tweed. Miss Watley. Miss Tweed. Kishana Tweed.
Okay.
Your device is off. Miss Tweed, your device was off. I didn't hear you. Unmute your device and repeat your name, please. Mr. Santos.
Good afternoon, Senator Sean Santos, Chief of Police, St. Croix District.
Mr. Elsko.
Sidney Olsko, Assistant Commissioner of Virgin Islands Police Department.
Kishana Tweed. Could you put your name on the record? You need to unmute your device. Okay, then, Ms. Tweed, can you sign out and sign back in because we're not hearing you? Commissioner, you may proceed with your testimony. Oh, it just came on. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Kishana Tweed, Director of Information Systems.
Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Martinez?
Thank you, Senator. Honorable Senator Kurt A. Viale, Chairman of the Committee on Finance, committee members, other members of the 34th Legislature, members of my executive team, and the listening and viewing audience, good afternoon. I am Ray Anthony Martinez, Commissioner of the United States Virgin Islands Police Department, VIPD. Thank you for the opportunity to appear and discuss our proposed fiscal year 2023 budget. It is understood preparing a budget for a department this size is a daunting and tedious undertaking. By no stretch of the imagination should our reach exceed our grasp. I have confidence in what will be presented to this august body today. I am pragmatic in my approach to presenting this matter, a financial outlook to what is necessary for the growth of the Virgin Islands Police Department. It is with profound gratitude I express my thanks and celebrate the members of the Virgin Islands Police Department who, united, toil and strive 24/7, 365 to make this department what it is and what it will become for posterity. A trajectory of remarkable things we can all be proud. Now, allow me to delve into the budget. VIPD's recommended fiscal year 2023 budget is $72,649,670. The budget consists of the general fund operating budget of $71,372,356, which includes funding for personal services of $41,342,224 and fringe benefits of $15,544,047 for a total personnel cost of $56,886,271 and accounts for 80% of the budget. supplies of $4,410,806, and other services of $7,663,261 for other operating costs of $12,074,067. Utilities of $2,009,077. Capital outlay of $402,241. Also included in our funding is the Police Activities League, St. Thomas and St. Croix at $40,000 each, the St. Thomas Weed and Seed Program at $85,000, St. Croix Weed and Seed Program at $90,000, the consent decree at $1,564,999, and Crime Stoppers at $100,000. The department receives an annual appropriation of $850,000 from the Tourism Advertising Revolving Fund. These monies supplement the VIPD's tourism-oriented policing initiative and fund delivery of tourism loss prevention, safety, and security services. Non-appropriated funds of $427,314 are allocated towards the Peace Officer Standards and Training, Post Office. The post is currently funded through appropriations from the Bureau of Motor Vehicles and the Superior Court. In fiscal year 2022, the department has expended $784,084 on the consent decree to include $415,143 in independent monitor costs. The department has remained in substantial compliance with the consent decree, except for 6 paragraphs. The independent monitoring team has recommended 6 paragraphs remained held out of compliance, while VIPD continues to challenge those recommendations. Internal reviews and audits of investigations are ongoing with the Change and Compliance Management Unit, the CCMU. As the department's internal monitors, CCMU allows for self-monitoring and identifying and correcting deficiencies. With modern-day policing and continuous changes in our society and other law enforcement industry standards, this unit will keep the department on par with the revision of policies, procedures, and laws. The Bureau of Human Resources is committed to providing support services for employees. Currently, our actual strength consists of 180 civilian employees, 317 police officers, and 16 other sworn personnel territory-wide. There are 9 civilian employees and 34 sworn officers out on extended leave, consisting of military, sick, and assignment to the unclassified service. In fiscal year 2022, we hired 17 individuals in civilian positions and 15 police and auxiliary recruits. During this period, a total of 36 employees have separated from the department, 12 in the St. Thomas St. John district, 6 of which were police officers, and 24 in the St. Croix district, of which 16 were police officers. Based on the retirement eligibility assessment for fiscal year 2022, 70 sworn and 2 civilian personnel will be eligible to retire in the St. Thomas district, while 52 and 7 civilian personnel will be eligible for retirement in the St. Croix district. Over the next 2 years, an additional 13 sworn and 3 civilian personnel qualify for retirement territory-wide. In fiscal year 2023, we have budgeted for 49 police officer and 18 auxiliary positions. The department developed and implemented the Virgin Islands Police Department's recruiting plan with the goal to attract qualified individuals to pursue a career within the department. To date, the department has solicited candidates from the National Guard who are interested in joining the Police Auxiliary Program. Multiple in-person and virtual career fairs have been hosted, and we have assigned a dedicated police recruiter who has developed multiple recruitment ads and attended a circuit of radio talk shows. The Human Resources Office is also in the process of establishing a workforce development unit within the HR office. The Workforce Development Unit will be responsible for putting in place initiatives to help create, sustain, and retain a viable workforce by developing skills through training. Funding for the Training Bureau continues to ensure that all peace officers in the territory maintain certification requirements according to the Peace Officer Standards and Training Post in providing training, both virtual platform and in-person learning. During fiscal year 2022, approximately 2,300 hours of training has been conducted. Instructions were inclusive of yearly firearm certifications, training, taser, baton, oleoresin capsicum certification, ethics, use of force, and domestic violence. Supervisors are also received training in leadership and supervisors' liability. In addition, other critical supplemental training was conducted in homicide investigations, photography, interview and interrogation too, crisis prevention training, and responding to active shooter incidents. A total of 18 sworn personnel received training and became certified as use of force instructors, crisis intervention team coordinators, force science analysts, firearms instructors, and certification in general instruction. In addition to continued annual training and recertifications, the fiscal year 2023 budget will be used to fund a certified divers course for 10 VIPD personnel. Another VIPD training highlight and accomplishment in fiscal year 2023 will be the VIPD hosting for the first time in the Caribbean a Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, FLETC, Use of Force Instructor course. Currently, for fiscal year 2022, there are 36 peace officer recruits in the police academy, of which 14 will join VIPD, 7 for the St. Croix District, and 7 for the St. Thomas District. Upon completion and graduation, another peace officer class is scheduled to begin in early fiscal year 2023. The VIPD Information Technology Bureau continues its goal of implementing and supporting various technologies to assist with efficiency and providing technical support to the staff. ITB has also implemented security tools to harden its core infrastructure. Funding to the Bureau will augment current and future technological projects that we intend to bring online. Implementation of the Public Finance Authority, the PFA funded $1 million IP-based camera and license plate reader system has been completed. Utilizing these tools has proven a major success factor with investigations. The department is also working conjointly with BIT and the vendor to amend the existing contract for the expansion of the surveillance system territory-wide that utilizes the $1.5 million Department of Interior Capital Improvement Project grant funding. Other projects worthy of mention are commencement of the expansion and installation of the ShotSpotter system infrastructure hardware. A memorandum of agreement for the e-citation project is at Property and Procurement in its final approval stage, and the satellite hotspots have been deployed to senior leadership personnel to assist with basic communication in the event of a disaster where communication is offline. Development of the VIPD Real-Time Crime Center, the RTCC, remains a priority. Positions for a center manager and 7 RTCC analysts has been approved. We are actively working on identifying a location to serve as the center's home. The State Link module of the Computer-Aided Dispatch, the CAD system, is now integrated with our Spillman records-keeping system. This module enables officers and dispatchers to conduct NCIC queries from the Spillman system. The officers and the dispatchers will be accessing the feature after they have completed the NCIC certification. We attempted to go live with the long-anticipated in-car GPS system and encountered a communication issue. Along with the vendor, we are jointly troubleshooting the issue between the GPS module in the Spillman system and the GPS devices. When fully operational, this module will enable the dispatchers to view the vehicles live on the map and dispatch the closest vehicles to calls for service. Until then, the Office of the Chiefs and Internal Affairs have been manually using the systems for internal investigations. Continued funding of MIS projects in fiscal year 2023 will ensure VIPD continues to remain current with policing technological trends. The Office of Communications and Public Information continues to advise the Commissioner and the command staff on public opinion and news media response regarding departmental issues. With a full complement of staffing assembled and strong emphasis on media relations, The goal in fiscal year 2023 remains to continue providing timely dissemination of information to the public, further embracing the technological era to effectively inform the community of crimes, criminal arrests, and other information pertinent to public safety. The team strives to use innovative and advanced technological approaches to work closely with the media, the community, business leaders, elected officials, and other members of the public. This communication will promote excellence in police services, mobilize public involvement, and increase awareness of public safety initiatives that build upon the department's crime reduction strategies. The Virgin Islands Police Department currently occupies over 21 properties housing over 475 employees, equipment, and services. There are 11 rental leases, 6 storage units, and 9 MOUs that are all pending further review. Rental costs for both districts total $1,473,180. In March of this year, the Commissioner's Office, along with the support staff units, finally made the long-anticipated relocation into the Casa Coakley office space. After Hurricanes Irma and Maria, major renovations were required at several locations. While we have been able to complete minor repairs, some buildings require major repairs. To address these issues, we've been working closely with the Office of Disaster Recovery and FEMA. These fruitful meetings have garnered approvals for financial support of major repairs and renovations. We have since requested additional assistance for the cost of temporary locations and are awaiting FEMA's response. Obtaining updated maintenance service agreements for air conditioning systems at all our facilities continues to be a major hurdle. There is a constant strain since our 24/7 operations require the systems to run continually, which dramatically reduces their life cycle. Our vendors are assessing existing systems to determine which units remain usable and those that require replacement. Increases to this budgetary category will ensure this issue is addressed during fiscal year 2023. As a result of our recurring facilities issues and our intent to provide safe and comfortable working conditions for our employees, we recently met with the Department of Property and Procurement, seeking to identify office space suitable to facilitate our infrastructure needs and requirements. We have communicated those concerns with the Office of the Governor and the Office of Management and Budget as well. While we are moving forward post-haste to find suitable rental options, we understand our rental budget will need to increase. As we do not have an idea as to the cost of those moves now, the plan is to make the necessary moves and to cover those costs later in the fiscal year 2023 supplemental budget requests. We plan to utilize federal grants in the amount of $19,317,973 to augment the general fund. The United States Department of Justice Community-Oriented Policing Services COPS program continues to fund the personnel costs of new officers. The department is utilizing the 2020 COPS grant funds in the amount of $2,144,180 to fund the salaries of 12 police officers. Currently, we have 5 filled positions, and we anticipate the next 7 vacancies will be filled in the upcoming police class. The grant expires in June of 2023. The VIPD has accumulated $2,038,549 in Operation Stone Garden grant funding from the United States Department of Homeland Security, Customs and Border Patrol. These grants continue to fund the purchase of equipment and supplies in addition to officers' overtime to patrol the territory's coastline and borders. Stone Garden funding is used to augment VIPD's work with several local and federal agencies to intercept the illegal trafficking of drugs and purchases into our territory. The 2018 Stone Garden funding of $400,000 provided overtime reimbursement in the amount of $96,885 and furnished 6 additional solar-powered surveillance cameras at a cost of $236,000. In addition, of the 2019 $738,549 Stone Garden funding, $332,994 is slated for overtime reimbursement, and $377,355 is designated for the purchase of a patrol boat for the District of St. Croix. The 2020 Stone Garden funding in the amount of $800,000 allowed for overtime reimbursement in the amount of $397,224. Funding will also secure the purchase of a patrol boat for the St. Thomas St. John District in the amount of $377,335. Due to natural disasters on the U.S. mainland and issues along the southwestern U.S. border, federal funding was diverted to assist with deployment, thus resulting in the department receiving only $100,000 in the 2021 Stone Garden funding. This funding will be used for its intended purpose of augmenting our overtime initiative in safeguarding our local borders. The department received a $50,000 Homeland Security grant for election soft target to augment overtime expenses incurred during this election season. The funding ensured VIPD officers provided security and maintained order at the 2022 primary elections and will be mirrored during the November 2022 general elections. We expect to expend the entire grant by the end of the election season. The department is also a subrecipient of the Homeland Security grant funds in the amount of $52,600 for the purchase of additional surveillance security systems to protect soft target locations territory-wide. The body-worn camera BWC policy and implementation project at a cost of $300,000 from the United States Department of Justice Bureau of Justice Assistance is in its completion stage, with 250 body-worn cameras purchased and 187 deployed to uniformed patrol officers. Approximately 90% of all sworn personnel are trained on the utilization of the BWC. Body-worn cameras can help improve the high-quality public service expected of our officers. The presence of BWCs will improve the performance of officers as well as the conduct of the community members recorded. And when officers or members of the public break the law or behave badly, body-worn cameras can create a public record that allows the entire community to see what really happened. Its implementation would enable timely review of evidence regarding use of force incidents and alleged misconduct complaints, bringing investigations to timely conclusions and eventual compliance. Through the United States Department of Interior, Office of Insular Affairs, VIPD has received a $1.5 million capital improvement project for the expansion of surveillance cameras throughout the territory. The project, with an expiration date of September 2025, has received approval from the Army Corps of Engineers to proceed, and in the past week, we received a quote from the vendor that is now under review. The department has also received $85,830 for the Maintenance Assistance Program, MAP, Specialized Equipment, Tools, and Training Project for the purchase of equipment for boat motor pools. Local vendors have stymied the process with their lack of interest to do business with government agencies. We are once again soliciting quotes from vendors. We received Violence Against Women, VAWA, funding in the amount of $40,660 from the Law Enforcement Planning Commission. Through this grant, the department's domestic violence officers and personnel received training on response to domestic violence cases. In addition, equipment and supplies are being purchased for the DV units in both districts. The department has also acquired personnel protective supplies from LEPC, valued at $4,200 for civilian and sworn personnel. We continue to pursue grant opportunities and have applied for an additional $400,000 from LEPC in fiscal year 2023 funding. The fiscal year 2023 VI Office of Highway Safety Plan is pending National Highway Traffic Safety Administration NHTSA approval. In fiscal year 2022, the VI Office of Highway Safety has 15 NHTSA-approved projects totaling $3,038,834 and 2 Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration projects at $700,000. These projects include the BMV Superior Court Traffic Integration, Occupant Protection, Police Traffic Services, Impaired Driving, Occupant Protection, Teenage Drivers Outreach, and seatbelt survey. The Office of Highway Safety will continue to utilize a portion of the awarded funds to complete the final stages of the 484,000 traffic records e-citation software installation project. The memorandum of agreement is in a signature stage at the Department of Justice. The VIPD is a subrecipient of $12,999,354 in FEMA hazard mitigation funding. The Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, HMGP, disaster relief funding of $94,631 from FEMA is designated for wireless backup hotspots for improved connectivity during disasters. As we endeavor to further harden our facilities, the department has acquired funding for generator purchases of $44,340 for the St. Croix motor pool and $226,584 for the training academies in both districts. The department has received $285,250 for the Leander Jurgen Command Hurricane Wind Retrofit Project. This funding will allow for retrofitting the facility to meet hazard mitigation standards. The Jurgen Command project is now in the architectural and engineering phase. VIPD was also awarded $12,348,549 for the Patrick Sweeney Headquarters Retrofit Project. Geotechnical engineering soil boring studies are awaiting permit approvals from DPNR. Environmental studies on the existing structure are ongoing with expected completion in 2 weeks, and the topographic surveys have been completed. The department has 47 FEMA project worksheets, PWs, obligated in the amount of $21,572,524 for Hurricanes Irma and Maria. 21 of those PWs in the amount of $12,849,055 has been reimbursed. An additional $4,382,635 in overtime PWs are pending document completeness checks. In fiscal year 2022, the department received funding in the amount of $6,205,123 from the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA. Some of the funding included $2,876,849 to purchase 44 police vehicles to augment the current fleet. $1,001,794 was received to fund ShotSpotter technology installed territory-wide, providing coverage in high gunfire areas, provided shooting maps and gunshot audio to give officers and first responders precise locations of discharges. $617,021 was also obtained to fund personnel costs for the VIPD's Real-Time Crime Center to support the operations of the department in ongoing operational and crime reduction efforts. For fiscal year 2023, the department has requested an additional $19,704,450 in ARPA funding. This funding will supplement various crime-fighting projects, equipment, and initiatives. $8 million will be utilized to develop the RTCC, the Real-Time Crime Center. $191,397 will go towards the purchase of tactical and marine unmanned aerial system drones to aid tactical teams in barricade, hostage, and active shooter situations, and with border control and detection of illegal activities in drug and human trafficking. $285,831 will be utilized for the purchase of all-terrain patrol vehicles for use in rugged terrain and for security, patrol, and crowd control during large events. $130,000 will go towards the purchase of a rapid response marine vehicles to increase enforcement and inspections in and around bays, inlets, beaches, and docks. $519,140 for the purchase of additional live view mobility security camera systems and bispectrum optical thermal cameras and software upgrades of our present live view units. $264,650 is projected for modular vehicle data casting systems to improve public safety communication and information sharing during events, incidents, or after disasters. $998,001 will go towards the purchase of 180 vehicle laptops with vehicle docking stations to provide officers with the capabilities to conduct 100% reporting tasks by extending the office to the field. $5,533,295 is requested for the purchase of 103 vehicles to replace the out-of-contract fleet and specialized units, in addition to $1,612,600 to locally retrofit the vehicles. $1,300,000 will be used to fund 30 field inspection officers to conduct illegal firearms and contraband inspection of borders, facilities, and incoming baggage and cargo at air, land, and seaports. $498,000 for handheld X-ray backscatter imaging systems to provide security imaging and material identification solutions to aid our officers to safely inspect during drug trafficking, terrorism, and other hazardous threats. $360,000 to fund in-car camera solutions to provide the ability to record critical and key evidence while in the field. I thank the Committee on Finance for the latitude of my testimony. I would especially like to thank the members of my executive team and the financial teams for their diligence in preparation of the fiscal year 2023 budget presentation. More importantly, I thank all the employees of the VIPD, sworn and civilian, for their unyielding drive in serving the community. To the people of the Virgin Islands, thank you for your unparalleled support, and please continue to be our partners as we work together to create a safer community. Mr. Chair, my team and I will be happy to take your questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, for your testimony. Colleagues, let's go straight to a 6-minute round. Senator Blyden, you recognize.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, Commissioner Martinez and your supporting management team there. Again, thank you so much for your testimony. Before I go to the post-audit report, which is page 4 of 37, Ms. Webster. Commissioner, let me ask you quickly, the range. I've fielded many calls from individuals in the community who need to complete whatever they need to complete in order to get a license, through their jobs, etc. What's going on with the range? What's the situation on the range? And what's being done to correct it moving forward expeditiously?
Well, I don't know what do you mean by correcting the issue at the range, Senator. First of all, the range belongs to the Virgin Islands Police Department. The range was run down, and we took it, my team and I we took it upon ourselves to ensure that we rebuilt the range from a safety and security standpoint. If we have civilians going out there and utilizing the range, which is something that's been done over time, and a round bounced off a rack and struck one of those civilians, it's my hide. With that being said, we took the time to rebuild the range. The range, it should have been, we expected it to have been completed about 2 weeks ago. We ran into some problems with the berm, which is the backside of the range. We've already been in consultation with WAPA to obtain several more of the utility poles that we require. I think the transport of those poles should be done within the next week. And, we'll be back on track. However, let me just publicly say this, that upon completion, I will be moving towards getting a memorandum of understanding with any and all private companies are going to be utilizing the range moving forward. There will be waivers of liability that they will have to sign before they go back on to our range.
Okay, thank you for the update, and I appreciate the feedback. Ms. Webster, good afternoon. Page 437 of the post-auditor's report. Let's start off with personnel services. There have been a $5.7 million decrease in personnel service, which is 38% variance. What's the reason for such a large variance, especially when it comes to personnel? Have we lost of folks have retired from the police department?
It's not an actual 38%. It's actually a 12% reduction.
Expound on that for me, please.
The variance is $5.6 million, and the actual decrease is 12%, based on my calculation.
12%?
Yeah. That is the personnel cost, and the fringe cost is a reduction of 17.34.
What's the reason for the decrease?
Mr. Richards, the HR, can answer that question.
Mr. Richards, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good day, Director Richards. Issue of the variance is one. Of all of vacancies are only funded by 50%. The second issue as well, we also budget for lump sum, which was about $1.4 million, as well as fees and compensation. At this time around, those wasn't budgeted in this budget compared to last year. So those items were removed.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. Let's go to the supplies. Another large amount for $266,000 when it comes to your supplies. So we're anticipating utilizing that supplies for the 23 budget season.
We decided, because we had a fixed budget, to reduce our supplies and instead increase our other services, including our professional services, our maintenance contract, janitorial, more of our fixed costs, our WAPA, and all that stuff. So we figured we had office supplies covered.
Okay, but then you had an increase of $2.2 million when it comes to other services and charge. What's inclusive in that category, and why such a large increase?
In that category is professional services, and for our janitorial, our maintenance, our custodial, Oliver Exterminating, we actually had a 100% increase in our cost this year for our maintenance of our buildings. We also had a $150,000 increase for repairs and maintenance to our dilapidated buildings.
2 minutes.
Also included in that is, let's see, we have, one sec. Also included in that is an increase in our rentals. Our rentals increased by 50% from what it was in fiscal year 2022.
Increased by 50%?
Yes.
What's the reason for that?
Additional facilities that we're intending to accommodate.
Let me ask you, expenditures to date, say for personnel costs, what's your expenditures to year to date for your personnel costs?
Expenditures to date for our personnel costs is, as of August 10th, is $40,742,684. That's our personnel cost, and our fringe is $11,943,054.
Okay, very well. And let me inquire in terms of your overtime, because I know the actual for 21 was 18.5 million. What's that total to date for overtime?
Overtime cost to date is $17,466,148.
Oops. Exactly. Is it both federal and local combined, or just general?
Just local.
Local? So it seems that we're going to surpass the 18.5.
Time.
Yeah, projected to.
So what's the projection?
20 million?
22 million.
22 million.
22? Okay, thank you for that. I do not want to abuse my time, but thank you so much for your response. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, for the time.
Thank you, Senator Blythe and Senator Bolquist.
Point of personal privilege.
Point of personal privilege, Senator Kenny Gittins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It must have been an oversight, but I just sat here and listened to this full testimony, and there was no mention of a fallen officer who have served 19 plus years. And I just think that we should ask for a quick moment of silence for Detective Corinne Smith, if we may, Mr. Chair.
Yes, we may. A moment of silence for fallen officer, Ms. Corinne Smith.
Thank you. And let me correct that term of fallen. She was an active duty officer who have served this territory for more than 19 years within the Virgin Islands Police Department. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Gittins, for that. Senator Volquez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, Commissioner Martinez and administrative team of the Virgin Islands Police Department.
Good afternoon, sir.
I'd also like to mention recently our office was made aware of a hit-and-run incident on St. Croix, where an individual was hit and dragged a number of feet and was dislodged in between of a vehicle. And reports say that the vehicle broke down, and then the police officers caught up with that individual, but there wasn't an arrest made for the hit and run. I was wondering if any developments had come forward with that. We'll talk offline about that.
We can definitely speak offline on that. Thank you.
Okay. I'd like to start off with your vacancies. Outside of your basic roles, are you planning to enhance the department with different types of officers? I know that you have about 29 vacancies currently. Is that what I saw? 30 vacancies last fiscal year and now 29.
So for the upcoming fiscal year 23, I think we're looking at 47 or 49 police vacancies, and I think 18 18 police auxiliaries, and that's just on the police side. I know Director Richards can give you the exact numbers. On top of that, from my testimony, we're also looking into. We've already started to attempt to bring on several National Guard members who were formerly working at the airports. And that's a huge initiative between us, the National Guard, and Customs Enforcement, where we want to bring in hire these individuals to be an additional eyes and ears for us against the illegal firearms coming into the territory at both the airports and through our cargo, and air, sea, and land as well. And with that, we're looking at attempting to hire anywhere between, I think it's 15 per district there as well. And again, it's still early in the budget cycle, but as we move along, as from our civilian side of the house, and again, Director Richards can give you those numbers. There are some civilian staff as well that we're going to need to bring on.
So concerning the auxiliary officers, do you believe you have enough of them on a regular basis to augment whatever is going on in the department?
Oh, definitely not. We don't have enough officers, and we don't have not enough auxiliaries.
So are you familiar with police reserve officer programs?
Yes, there are a number of police departments on the U.S. mainland that have reserve programs.
Okay. I think perhaps we should talk a little bit about that. I think it'll further help with some of the setbacks that you're experiencing.
We could, and the reserve, the difference between the reserve programs and the police auxiliaries is that the reserve programs are really made up of officers who are retired and come in really part-time and on a case-by-case basis, as needed basis. But that is definitely something that I am more than willing to pursue.
Okay, thank you for that. With the weed and seed program, I noticed that there was a difference between the $85,000 on St. Thomas and $90,000 on St. Croix. Could you expound on that? Why there was a difference between the two?
I don't have an answer to why there's a $5,000 difference in that.
Okay, noted. Concerning body-worn cameras, for me, I know that they serve as a tool to monitor civilians and officers.
2 minutes.
Concerning what potentially could happen on both sides of the table.
Correct.
But what I'm really concerned about is how the data is going to be utilized and kept, and want to make sure that it's secure and not sold to private entities like much of the other law enforcement agencies in the states have done in the past or are currently doing. How do you intend to secure that data?
Well, great question, Senator, and thank you for bringing that up, because that's something I really was hoping that someone would, so we could expound on it. The program, we just launched the program just a couple of weeks now. First of all, the data, we own the data. We keep our own data, and I'm going to allow Director Kishana Tweed to expand on that just a little more, but that is our data. On the mainland, the issue has come up where there are third-party companies that hired by police departments because they're so large to keep the data and to monitor that data. With us here, we're a little different in that we maintain our own. We maintain our own footage. We maintain our own cameras on our own systems. But if you may, I'd like again, Director Tweed can expand on the system.
At the pleasure of Mr. Chair, please. Go ahead.
You may proceed. Got your time called?
No, Ms. Tweed.
So exhaust your time before.
Yeah, if Ms. Tweed can respond.
Good afternoon, Kishana Tweed. Yes, the Virgin Islands Police Department manage the evidence that is stored from the body worn cameras, and we also have a procedure to make sure everything is secure and audit log for that information. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. You want to conclude?
Yes, please. Are there any regulations concerning that process that you could forward to this body to look over?
We have our body worn camera policy is public, and but we can forward you a copy of that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Bolquez. Your personnel has a decrease of $5 million. Well, what does that mean for the police department?
Well, Senator, first of all, with that thing, we're going to actively pursue utilizing the CAPS program once more. Again, right now, we're looking at $2 million, and we haven't been as efficient as we should have been in the past. There's no reason why.
But you have the CAPS program this fiscal year also?
It's available every year. Did you utilize it this year? We're utilizing it as we speak. We have 5 individuals on it. We have 7 vacancies. Those vacancies will be placed in the upcoming class in November. And the 2020, which we're speaking of, expires in June of 2023. We have 1 more year that we can request an extension, but in the interim, we're going to continue to ask for additional
what's the amount in that program for this fiscal year?
Sure.
This fiscal year, how much is available in the CAPS program?
If you give me 1 second, Senator, it's $2 million.
Is it $2 million over 2 years, or is it 1 year?
This was just 1 year.
So $2 million. Go ahead.
Correct. This was what's here is $2,144,180. And that was just for fiscal year 2020. And that's what we still continue to use.
And you're saying that's to fund 12 positions?
That funded 12 positions.
At 12 positions, that'll be $178,000. You could fund more than 12 positions.
Well, again, that's what was funded here. That's what's left from here. We just haven't done over the years, we haven't done our due diligence.
I know, but what I'm saying, if we have $2 million, we need to fund as much positions as possible. Does it stop us from, does it have to be new officers coming on, or can we place X amount of officers? We look at the starting salary or the first 2 years' salary, and we place those officers under the particular account and pay from that account.
So we can't supplant, Senator. So we have to start with officers that would be coming through the academy as recruits and place them on. They stay on the program until the monies are expended, and once they're expended, we have to move them to the general fund.
Okay, yes, so then what's the starting pay for a police officer?
40,000. 953.
40,953.
Correct.
And you probably add on the next 28,000 for fringe? So with that, I'll come back with that particular number. You have a lot of money left in that particular grant.
Well, again, Senator, that doesn't mean that we can request a grant. It doesn't mean we'll get $2 million, but that's just what was afforded in the 2020.
For the Virgin Islands?
Correct.
That means we could get the money, but we're only going to be spending about $816,000 with fringe, so we still have about $1.3 million. So if we could get some classes going as quick as possible. Senator James.
Good afternoon to the people of the U.S. Virgin Islands. Thank you, testifiers, for being here. As we speak about a budget, do you have anything factored into this FY 2023 budget for renovating or any kind of capital outlays for the Frederickstead substation? Is there any funding that this body can provide to you to get the Frederickstead substation, that's the one right next to Yucca, up and running?
If I may, pose that question to Ms. McIntosh, our facilities manager, but the short answer is we have not in the budget, but that doesn't mean that we can't move monies to
So before she answers that question, what is, well, you know what, let me go to her, because she would tell me the issue, what's going on with that facility. So proceed, facility manager.
Good afternoon, Andrea Brian McIntosh, Director of Facilities and Maintenance and Properties.
You're gonna have to talk a lot. You're gonna have to talk louder.
1 second, sir. Can you hear me any better?
Much better.
Okay. You're talking about the substation right next to Yucca?
Yes.
That station is up, sir.
Okay, so when we pass there, it looks. When we pass there, it looks. Mr. Chair, if I could just, this is not working. You have like a serious echo.
It's gonna work. Ms. Brian McIntosh, take off your device when he's speaking, and then put it back on when he's completed his sentence.
Losing a lot of time here.
I'm gonna give it back to you. Don't worry.
Okay. Time is all we have on this planet, man.
Wait a second, Bruce.
Yeah. So, in all seriousness, you said it's up and running. I'm always in Frederickstead, but when I go to Frederickstead, that place is poorly lit. You know, I'm not sure of the coordination you have with the surrounding areas, but forget about them. Just you having your own light, just to show like, hey, it's up and running. It does seem like it's dormant, like nothing is happening there. Do we have bodies in there? Do we have activity going on in there as far as police officers, law enforcement officers physically being in there?
To the best of my knowledge, we do, Senator. But again, I think Chief Santos is on the line, and he can provide an answer to that.
Good afternoon, Senator James. This is Chief Santos. Whenever we do have initiatives running in Frederickstead Town, it is being manned by our Special Operations Team Bike Unit. At this current juncture, you wouldn't see officers there on a 24/7 basis, but you will see them there periodically. The majority of the time, it's pretty much manned as a substation, so that if they are going out and they're patrolling within the town area, anywhere from Rainbow Beach or from down by the Vincent Mason pool, so to say that you have somebody stationed there, they're pretty much out in the field more, because we don't have a desk officer at that location. Our desk officer is at the Rainbow building. But, you know, if necessary, we do have our bike unit station down there, Officer Guzman. Everybody speaks about Officer Guzman very nicely. So he is down there, but majority of the time he's in the field in the Frederickstead location, sir.
And my question to the facility manager or anyone who can answer this question, that building, is there a need for renovation? Is there any need for fixing of anything? You need funding to fix it? Is it in a great condition as we speak about a budget? Because asking you shall receive, we want to help you all, and it just seems like no one wants to answer. Like, we really want to help Frederickstead. Because the reason I'm asking you that, you have Siboney, you have Yam Yam, you have all these restaurants in Frederickstead. Frederickstead is finally getting a nightlife. We recently saw a lounge got opened up. Things are moving as far as our nightlife in Frederickstead. We want to protect the business owners, and to have a substation there would definitely help. So do you need funding to renovate the substation? Is that simple, yes or no?
Well, Senator, I think that I don't think we can answer yes or no right now. I don't know what the answer is. I've been to the substation myself. It's in working order, but give us the opportunity to respond back to you when we leave here, and we can provide you whether or not it is in need of some type of renovation, and we can tell you that and assess that for you.
And there needs to be some coordination there to make sure that we have adequate lighting there. You don't want individuals who are supposed to be operating as a law enforcement officer entering into a dark environment. That's unsafe. The enemy can be just right there lurking. But we're going to move on to the Lorraine substation. Any hopes for the Lorraine substation? That seems to be very dark, like nothing is happening there. Do we plan to utilize it moving forward? Is it operable right now as far as around the clock?
The Lorraine station houses our juvenile and school security bureau.
Okay, just want to make sure, 'cause I know growing up in my younger days, you always had police presence there. That was the police presence between the Mombiju area and anything that was going on in that area. So I'm just going back to the good old days when you saw police presence. And I just want to make sure if you need any funding for these buildings and for any capital outlays, this is the time to ask for it. And I guess we still have time because the budget hearings are still going on to just put in our requests. And then do you feel there's a need to establish a substation in East End? Do you think there's a need for that?
Well, again, there's always a need. It's always good if we can do things like this, but those are catch-22 questions because you establish the substation, you better have the bodies to have in the substation. Right now, then my most politically correct answer would be we'll continue to increase our initiatives to the eastern end of the island, and as soon as we have the requisite amount of personnel that can be sitting in a substation, then we'll cross that bridge then and place a substation in the eastern end of the island. Until then, we'll have to continue with our patrols.
And Mr. Chair, with your indulgence, because a lot of time was taken away from me. Can I ask one last question? It's regarding the collaboration. I'm not sure which department or agency will be responsible for this, but as far as an Amber Alert system, is that VITEMA, is it VIPD, or a collaboration? And if so, is there any funding that the legislature can provide to really establish a working Amber Alert system? As you know, we had a series of situations where individuals went missing, our children have been missing, elderly people. Is there any funding that we can give you or talk to me?
Good afternoon, Senator. Assistant Commissioner Mary Brooks. We have implemented the Everbridge system. It's basically the same system that VITEMA currently uses for their emergency alerts across the territory. We'll be utilizing it for our silver and amber alerts. We're in the final stages of that. We just had a meeting 2 weeks ago with Procurement to secure that contract. So we should be online here shortly.
So to my question, funding, is funding needed?
No.
No, we're good. We're good on funding.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair, for the time.
Thank you, Senator James. Quick point of inquiry. Senator Bolquist.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm curious to find out if the Virgin Islands Police Department owns any property, because I'm seeing some contracts for rentals that are on the higher side of $350,000, and I think that's an exuberant amount for an annual rent. Are there any plans to try to secure property? We entertained a discussion earlier today concerning derelict buildings of the government and trying to repurpose them. Are there any conversations with perhaps the Department of Property and Procurement about such things?
We've had ongoing, thank you for that question. We've had ongoing conversations with Property and Procurement. We do own property. The Virgin Islands Police Department owns the Patrick Sweeney headquarters property. And when we say the Virgin Islands Police Department, the government of the VI, and as well as, if I'm not mistaken, the Jurgen Command as well. But of course, those two properties are now in, it need extensive repairs. And therein lies our greatest issue, is the fact that all of the other properties that we're housed in, we've rented, and we've rented for years. Going back, since I've taken this, accepted this position, the Property and Procurement Commissioner and I and his team, our teams, have worked extensively, Senator, on trying to obtain property. We've gone out and actually attempted to purchase several pieces of property, utilizing some ARPA funds, as well as we've taken a look at a number of pieces of property, to include a Shinnery building in Subbase and other pieces, large properties as well, that we can utilize. The issue that we're having today is the fact that the VIPD needs to move out of CJC. We need to move out of the Jurgen Command in order for us to repair those buildings. So we don't have the luxury of putting some $6 or $7 million into the Shinnery building to bringing it back to its glory. We need somewhere that we can go to tomorrow. And,
okay,
and that's where the issue is.
That's good. That's good. We have to try to make your answers a little more concise. That was quite a long answer for a direct question. To my knowledge, ARPA funds can be utilized to purchase buildings. So if you guys are trying to use ARPA fund, please restrain.
So there are some, and I hope I'm not speaking on time, but there's some fine print in there that speaks to law enforcement purposes. That we can, that we've been trying to utilize.
And does it speak to purchase of buildings? Purchase of land or buildings?
Again, Senator, as I said, I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but that's what as I understand it, that's what we've been trying to do.
So we have money, and we have landowners that have vacant buildings that are on the market and they don't want to sell to the government?
Again, I can't speak to that.
That's a strange one. Senator De Graaf, you're recognized.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, colleagues. Good afternoon, testifiers. All viewing, listening, and present. Commissioner, this is your first one? I get your back, man.
My first.
Your first budget hearing? We don't let them jump up on you today, man. I get your back, okay? So you're covered. So feel free. Okay, Crime Stoppers, $100,000, is that sufficient for the Crime Stoppers program?
We think it is. The Crime Stoppers hasn't reached out to indicate that they require more. But again, because they do get a number of donations from the public sector as well. So, as we see it now, the $100,000 is sufficient.
Okay, because again, I'm looking at in terms of trying to assist with solvability of some of the crimes we're having, who people don't want to come forward. So maybe, I don't know if you had to up the ante, would that help? So we could look at that. Now, it just seems as if you're taking a budget cut to me, man. You taking a cut?
Well, I think all the departments are. I wouldn't say we're taking a cut.
We ain't giving up no money. That's a take up. This is your first go wrong. We ain't giving up nothing.
Good, sir. That's
and I'm saying that because I'm looking at your CFO. I think she mentioned, what was your personnel for? Not yet. Not yet. Take it easy there. I can hear you. No, you were saying for personnel is what, 40 million?
Your personnel cost.
Yes.
47.
40, okay, because again, with the post-auditor report that we have, page 4, it have the recommendation at 41,342,224, which is a variance from 22, is a 562, 5,672,139. at
Correct.
41 million, but you say you're asking for 40. You have a copy of the post auditor's report?
Yes.
Okay, so you see on the page 4, 2023 recommendation, 41,342,224, but you are saying 40 million, which is still another 1 million less.
I guess I may have misspoken. I don't remember. I think 40.
Okay, but I mean, what is, and like I say, it becomes again confusing again where it says, the same page, expenditure report, the governor has recommended a general fund appropriation of 71,372,356 for FY23. This represents a decrease of 8% or 6,350,274.
Correct.
Below fiscal year 222. So I'm saying, even when you mention at 8%, when my colleague mentioned the variance is 38%, you corrected him and said it was 8%. Then if it's 8% and it's showing 6,350,274, numbers are really, I'm just trying to figure out which is the right numbers again, so.
These numbers that the post auditor has is correct. I was only mentioning that the 5.672,139 is a 12% reduction in personnel services, and the fringe of 3,261,210 is a 14% reduction. Is a 17% reduction, not a 14. I was just clarifying the post auditor.
Yeah, and that's what I say. So we're going from 38 to 17. It's totally confusing. To go 5,672,000, where you have 40 million, the recommended is 41, and then we have from 71, which is under, from 77, 8% at 6,350.
2 minutes.
Which is the set of numbers we should be looking at? The 8%, which is 6,350,274, or the variance of 5,672,000?
The total personnel costs, the total reduction in the budget is 6,352,74, which is 8%.
Yes, 6,350,274. So then 5,672,000 can be right.
Yes, 5,672,000 is the reduction in personnel services. However, other services increased by 2,185,000 to offset.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I see what you're saying. You added in other services and charges.
For the entire total personnel cost.
But they only show variance in supplies. So the numbers just seem to be a little confusing to me. And I want to address that because the personnel in regards to have anybody unions negotiated and received any wage increases for the 22 budget?
Fiscal year 2022?
We're correct.
Yes, our both our unions, both police unions are online with their contractual agreements for 2022. The fiscal year 2023, the LESU has, I think their contract expires in September of this year. Okay. And so that's, and I think just a week ago earlier this week when I spoke with the chief negotiator, they've already started to have communications between her and the union attorney. So, but both the PBA and the LESU are up to par. They're up to the level they should be with their contractual agreements.
And
time.
How about the civilian employees?
The civilian employees, the steel workers, they're still in negotiations as we speak.
Okay. And again, so with those budget increases, therefore, wage increases going forward, if I may wrap up, Mr. Chair. Like I said, I'll come back to that, but I ain't going to beat a dead horse. In regards to how many retirees have you had? Retirees and how much revenue has the department received this year? And then I'll just wrap up. That will be my ending, so I don't abuse my time.
Director Richards, St. Croix, we had 8 retirees.
Say again, how many?
St. Croix, we had 8 retirees.
8.
St. Thomas, we had 2 retirees.
2.
And if you're asking for civilian as well, we had 3 retirees in St. Croix, and we had 4 retirees in St. Thomas.
Okay, and all paid up in the GRS.
That I don't know. We will have to wait and see when GRS does an assessment, and then they will let us know if anything is owed.
Okay.
But from my knowledge, most of them have been getting their retirement.
Okay, good. And finally, like I said, the revenues generated for the year.
For which the entire department?
Yes. Overall revenue generation.
The revenues for fiscal year 2021 for firearms, and for firearms.
I could hardly hear you.
Speak directly into the mic, and your time has been called, Senator.
Yeah, no, I just wrap up.
But speak directly into the mic so that he can hear you.
Parts. So thank you for the time, Mr. You can't change your time. But it was just one question with the 2 parts. That's all it was.
The revenues for fiscal year 2021 was 490,608, and for 2022 to date June, 364,856.
You got the figure?
364,856.
Okay, thank you so much. In reference to the budgetary questions, 3 of the categories have decreased: personnel, fringe, and supplies, and 3 of the categories have increased: other services and charges, utilities, and capital projects. What is the increase, the $2 million increase in other services and charges?
$2 million increase in other services and charges.
Speak into the mic.
Okay. So, in other services and charges.
Turn on Ms. Webb's mic for me, please.
We had rental of land and buildings. We had an increase.
How much?
It says 1 million. However, it's actually not 1 million. It says our budget on the ERP says 465 for rent.
No. What is it? What is the total we're paying for rent?
In fiscal year 2022, it's supposed to be 1,473,000.
It's supposed to be
1,473,000. That's the 2022 budget. So there's an increase of $1 million there. In professional services.
Hold up. Increase in the 2022 budget of $1 million for rent?
Yeah, however, that's what the ERP reports shows for our budget for fiscal year 2022. However, our budget was actually $998,000. When it went on the ERP, it reflected $468,000.
It reflected $468,000 more?
No, actual.
Somebody can drill down, because I am a bit confused. Point of inquiry, Senator Gregory.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the question is, there is a $2.1 million increase in other services and charges. What is the reason for that increase? It doesn't have anything to do with what's on the ERP. It has to do with what's in your operations. You made reference to $1 million tied to your leases. Do you have new leases that's increased by $1 million?
No, our leases increased by...
Commissioner, what's the reason for the $2.1 million increase?
The fact that we're going to have to move out of where we're at and acquire more rental space. And
where we're at where?
Where?
Yeah, where you're at where?
We don't know yet. That's the thing.
You're going to have to move out from where?
Oh, sorry. CJC and CJC and Jurgen Command.
Oh, so you're asking for a $2.1 million increase prior to knowing what it's going to cost you to generate a new lease?
No, because that's not specific to just leases alone.
What else is it
It's-
specific to?
It's specific to what the cost of the operating costs, whether it's the leases, the everything that's associated with
What is
with the moves.
everything? That's a big number.
Again, but it's not 2 million because it's an increase of $1 million.
No. Post Audit Report, page 4 of 37. It's a 40% increase over FY 2022. FY 2022 is 5.4 million. FY 23 is 7.6 million. That's a $2.2 million increase, which equals 40% increase in your other services category. Through the chair, VIPD needs to provide the legislature, or this committee rather, what the $2.1 million entails. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator.
Certainly.
I'm going to come back to that category, but I'll leave it alone because the next senator will probably pick it up. Senator, carry on.
Good evening, Commissioner. I have a question in regards to personnel on page 5 of your testimony. See here. Quickly. Your testimony, you speak about FY 2022. You hired 17 individuals in civilian positions and 15 police and auxiliary recruits. I realize you mentioned you have a total of 180 civilians and 317 officers. But for FY22, so those new hires you got in FY22, can you break them down per district?
Mr. Richards?
Good afternoon. Are we talking about sworn or civilian or everything?
Give me both categories.
Okay. For new hires, we hired community service.
Speak into the mic, we're not hearing you.
We hired a community service officer. We also hired a criminalist, a legal office administrator.
I just wanted to break down per district.
Number of people.
Oh, sorry. 17 total we hired in 2022. That's for St. Croix. And then for St. Thomas, we hired 17.
12. So say it again, 17 on St. Croix?
Correct.
And 12 on St. Thomas?
17 in St. Thomas.
Okay. And that includes civilians and sworn officers?
It includes civilian, well, technically civilians because police recruits and auxiliary recruits, technically they're in the academy. So they haven't graduated yet to become sworn.
Okay. All right, so 17, okay. All right. And on page 8 of the testimony, you when you mentioned about the camera and license plate readers, are those up and functioning? You said page 8, implementation of Public Finance Authority PFA funded 1 million in IP-based cameras and license plate reader system has been completed.
Yes,
has
Senator.
been completed as the system is up and running and functioning?
That is correct, Senator. 108 cameras between St. Thomas and St. Croix are up and functioning.
With ability to read license plate?
That is correct, Senator.
Okay. And when will they have you then issue any citation based on the license plate readers, or you do mention here, you're telling this tool has proven a major success factor with investigations. Can you explain maybe the number of investigations that this has served and assisted you thus far?
I don't have the number of investigations they have served us, but I can tell you that it's qualitatively they have served us well.
Very well. And how long have they been up and active?
The system has been up several months now.
Okay. Several months as 3 months, 6 months.
If I can have Ms. Director Tweed give the exact month as to when the system went live.
Good day, Kishana Tweed. I'm going to have to get the exact date, but the system has been live over 6 months. Technically, the system has been live from the time the cameras have been installed. They have been recording from the completion of the installation of the cameras.
Okay.
So I would say for the whole year of this year, the cameras have been functioning, the whole of 2022.
And they're being monitored. You have someone, personnel has been trained.
2 minutes.
So repeat your question, Senator.
I'm saying personnel has been trained and they're being monitored.
The the personnel are not trained to monitor. The system is monitored, and we go back to the system at this present juncture when we need them and extract the information that's required. The system won't be 100% manned and viewed until we have the real-time crime center in place.
And okay, let's talk a little bit about a real-time crime center. What's the timeline for that? I see it that you mentioned in your testimony on page 9.
The real-time crime center, as far as a timeline, we've already have the positions for the center manager, and the 7 analysts have been approved, partially approved by OMB, and we are seeking a place, a building for rent to start putting the to start building out the center. As far as a time frame, I am hoping that we can have this stuff start building this stuff out as soon as we acquire and go through the renting of the space and stuff, and then start acquiring the equipment. It could be anywhere from 3 to 6 months before we're actually getting a move on things. So 3 to 6 months is the time frame for us to start to put stuff together, physically put stuff in the center.
Once you have located the spot and you have that lease agreement, then the building time will be 3 to 6 months.
That's the intent, yes, sir.
Okay. And have you ordered the equipment?
No, it makes no sense to order the equipment because with technology, it's always changing. Once we're closer to that developmental stage, we'll start to purchase the equipment. I did not want to order the equipment now and then just put it down and it starts to age. We run into some technicality somewhere, and then we're a year out of getting the center up, and now we've got a year-old piece of equipment.
So have you identified potential sites?
We've identified 3 potential sites territory-wide, yes.
So we should be closing pretty soon, right, Commissioner?
Closing soon, no, but again, we've identified 3 potential sites between 2 islands, and we're moving expeditiously to select at least 1.
Could you share a little bit about the expansion program for the surveillance system territory-wide? There's 1.5 from the Department of Interior, the capital improvement project grant funding.
Sure, if
that would allow you to put how many more cameras, or what's that expansion plan that you have in mind?
Certainly, if I can again, and just have Ms. Tweed delve into that, Director Tweed.
I'm sorry. Could you repeat that question for me? Kishana, could you repeat the question?
Yeah, the expansion plan for the $1.5 million from the Department of Interior Capital Improvement Project grant funding.
Sorry, what is your question?
What that looks like? How many more cameras? What's the plan for that funding?
I have to get the exact number, but we do have some identified locations that we did provide the vendor to for us to obtain a quote so that we can continue with that expansion. But as far as the amount of cameras, I'd have to go back and look at that. And that number changes based on the cost of those cameras. So giving a static number for the amount of cameras would be kind of impossible, but I can give you an approximate number.
Okay.
So what's that approximate?
Your time has been called, Senator, so you can wrap up in the next.
Just give me a few minutes and I'll look for that information. I can provide that, okay?
Thank Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Chair. Just in closing, I'm a little bit concerned also about on the post-audit report, page 9. There's some rental leases that have expired. So if he could, on the chair's time, expound on what's the plan with that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Carrion. You have Michael A. Simmons building, lease expired.
Again, Senator, if I can have Ms. McIntosh respond to those questions regarding the leases and the properties.
Ms. McIntosh.
Good afternoon, Senator. Yes, that lease has expired and it's being worked on. It's currently in progress with property and procurement. It's something we're currently working on right now, sir. It just expired in June this year.
Whenever you're not answering, please turn on your camera. So whenever you call those who are appearing virtually, please turn your camera on. Thank you so much. You said the lease, you're working on renewing the lease. That was the answer?
Yes, sir. The lease expired in June, and we're currently working on property and procurement to have it renewed, sir.
Okay, because you had a 1-year extension. In this budget, are the individuals identified in your vacancies or new positions for the RCC centers?
No, those positions for the RCC were covered in the ARPA.
They covered in the ARPA?
Dwayne?
Correct. They were covered under the ARPA fund. A submittal was submitted about 3 months ago to the Office of Management and Budget, and it was approved.
How much positions?
It was 7 for the rank and file, real-time crime center analyst, and also for 1 manager.
And how are they going to be split?
How they split as far as?
District.
I'm not districtizing the real-time crime center. The real-time crime center, you don't need a center around St. Croix and a center around St. Thomas. We can have everything come into one center for now, and then we can also have a backup.
Is it presently configured that way?
Yes, for one center for starters.
So right now we have one spot or one location where we get all the data?
Correct.
Which island? It doesn't make a difference. If you could go one on all islands, everybody know where it is in New York.
Everything is coming into St. Thomas right now.
And we don't have sufficient personnel right now to have somebody monitoring that in real time?
No, we do not. That's the short answer.
What's the training for the personnel that's needed?
For the real-time crime center, they're trained as analysts who are, and again, let me just, Dwayne, if you.
So we have anybody presently in training? I'm asking these questions because only 5 years we waited for this.
We currently have nobody in training. OMB just recently approved the memorandum of understanding for use of the ARPA fund for the positions. So we're about to more likely advertise in a week or 2. Once the listing comes down from division personnel, then we move forward in hiring. Once those individuals are hired, then we'll proceed with the necessary training.
We need a sense of urgency for the camera system. That's how we fight crime. We need real-time information. That should be one of the main priorities to get the technology going so that we can be able to fight crime. I still don't understand with the cameras all over that we have presently, how we still give out so spotty information. They had a triple homicide in St. Croix. We're asking businesses to show us a camera footage if they have footage from this time period to that time period. You don't have the right to go into those businesses, get a subpoena and say, I need to see your camera system for this time period. Why are you begging business to show you a camera system when you have the authority to get a warrant and go in to look at those camera systems? Why are you asking for that?
So what I'd like, Senator, is to have you appointed as a judge.
No, I mean, you need to be appointed as. I don't need to be appointed
because, and I was just
okay. We have. Hold up. We have Department of Justice that have attorney generals that is supposed to be assisting the police department. Those attorney generals, matter of fact, the attorney generals assigned to criminal cases should be on the scene with the police department.
Agreed.
And should be able to determine, well, this took place at that particular gas station. I mean, smoke shop, the gas station right across the road have a camera, 2+2 have a camera. You go down towards One Love, Avis, all of them I'm sure have cameras. That they're saying, well, this is the case right now. Let's go to those stations right now. Let's pull the tape and let's get information so we could put out that it was a black car, a white car, or this or that, so that people know and people could be able to give info. And this is with all crimes. And it happens all over the United States.
Senator, if I may, that is something that is done. That is subpoenas are requested and obtained and given to businesses all the time. The issue here is that it makes it it simplifies things a lot more if we go and we ask folks for them to volunteer the information before we come with the heavy-handedness to issue them the subpoena. So we always start out by asking them first for the information.
Point of inquiry quickly, and then going to Senator Fred Gregory.
Hello? Yes, since you mentioned that it's germane to what you just spoke about, I just want to find out your success rate as far as being able to follow through with subpoenas and being able to follow through successfully. I know you made mention about asking, and they say asking you shall receive, but in the Virgin Islands, it's a little difficult when it comes to doing that. But as far as your success rate when it comes to subpoenas, when it comes to confiscating materials for the camera system, or their cameras, can you just speak to that? And thank you, Mr. Chair, for the time. Since you're on the topic of that, I follow the lead of the chair.
Well, I can't give you what a percentage, if you're looking for a percentage, what the success rate is when we issue subpoenas. I can tell you more times than not, once we issue the subpoenas, we obtain the information we're requesting.
Okay, thank you so much. Senator Sarro. Senator Fred Gregory.
Oh, boy. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I want to go back to the numbers, because I think my Savanero colleague, cousin, tried to drill down on these numbers and the personal services, and I did not get what, I'm not sure what was said. So let's go back to personnel services. So in FY 2022, you had a $47 million budget for personnel and an $18 million budget for associated fringe benefits. 23, 41.3, and a 15.4 for personnel and fringe. There is a reduction, an overall reduction in personnel of $5.7 million and a fringe reduction of $3.3 million. What positions are suffering as a result of this? What is it? 5 and 3, $9 million reduction in personnel and fringe. What does this relate to? And can you live with this reduction? And if you don't have the information in front of you, it's on page 4 of the post-audit report, but you should be able to see, or you should know, that your personnel services last fiscal year was $47 million and fringe was $18 million. So I'll give you an opportunity to look at a...
Understood, Senator.
Okay, because this is very serious. And then supplies also has a $266,000 reduction. What is being impacted as a result of this reduction? The chair did ask about the increases on the other services and charges, and I think we still need to get an answer. If we come in to discuss the budget, we should know that we had a $5.85 million budgeted amount on the other services and charges in 2022. This is this fiscal year. We see a recommendation of an increase of $2.1 million, 2.2, which is $7,663. We need to know what's included in that $2.1 million. You talked about the leases, and you said that was not it, only it. What is it? And I don't know how you come up with your utility numbers either. And this $402,000 for capital projects for FY 2023 is for what projects?
You want me to respond?
Yeah. Go ahead.
So the entire general fund $6.3 million variance reduction needs an explanation. And in the testimony, there was no explanation. So are you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
You want me to start with personnel, or you want me to
start with
supplies?
start with personnel.
Okay. So classified personnel reduction of 604,575. Unclassified reduction of 282,577. Temporary employees salary reduction of 220,720. Overtime increase of 562,019. Night differential.
Start over them
reduce-
numbers again.
Okay.
Give me the total reduction.
Total reduction for personnel services is 5,672,136.
And the question is, can you live with those reductions? That's the question.
Well, Senator,
2 minutes.
the answer is
You're losing a lot of positions. Let's just
correct.
keep it real.
The answer is we live with what's been provided to us, and when we run short, then we have to go back to the governor and to the Office of Management and
So-
Budget to request supplementals.
So what's your mission statement again?
To protect the people and property of our islands.
Okay, so we don't sacrifice our VIPD for all the other things that we've seen in here. That's a problem.
Okay.
So you need to give us what it is that you need. So I know that, because I've worked for the executive branch as well, and I know that we are told, live within your means, but not VIPD.
Understood, and I respect
Okay.
that, Senator, but you have to respect the fact that
Just leave it right there.
Good, thank you.
I need the information. And again, through the chair, we need to get the entire category for the general fund, Mr. Chair. Let's start with the school bureau. You call it the school something bureau?
School security?
School security bureau. With all that's happening on the national level, have you included any training within your FY 2023 budget, or do you have any training funds in your 22 budget to ensure that our school security bureau personnel is appropriately trained?
All our school security bureau personnel are appropriately trained as it pertains to as is every other police officer here, as it pertains to responses to school-based incidents, especially active
Okay, so let
shooters.
me ask you another question. What conversations are you having with our school leadership or the Department of Education leadership to ensure that if we have an incident in the territory, that in fact our schools leadership is prepared, our teachers are prepared, and our school bureau officers are in fact prepared? Because you like to give them kind of answer. So break it down for me.
We have had numerous conversations with them. If I may, Senator, I'll have Assistant Commissioner Brooks answer that question, as he's been the lead.
So I don't want to hear about conversations. I want to hear about earnest training and earnest discussion.
Thank you, Assistant Commissioner Brooks. Thank you for that question,
right.
Senator. Training-wide, I can tell you as of right now, we have ongoing active shooter training that has been in conjunction with that of the Department of Education. They have recently hired an employee that I think is the director of the school security program that actually liaisons directly with VIPD. And we actually just constructed a training. We have some active shooter training going on in the district right now in St. Thomas. It just started yesterday.
In our schools, respectively?
Yes, in
or
the schools. Yes, the schools.
all of our schools?
The
Some
schools
of our schools,
are.
you have a training
Yes,
plan?
yes, Senator. The schools are directly included. And then
All
on
right.
St. Croix, the training starts on the I think it's the 14th.
Okay, so you have a training plan?
Yes, we do have a training
Okay,
plan.
let's go back to, because my time is going to be called in a minute. Let's go back to the camera sites. The commissioner was asked, he said that he identified some sites. And then Ms. Tweed indicated that you order the cameras based on your available funding based on the cost, which is somewhat a little troubling to me. It should be, this is what my needs are, this is the amount of money that you have, and this is the difference that I need, because you need to ensure that your sites are covered. Is that a reasonable expectation?
That is a reasonable expectation, Senator.
Okay, so when Ms. Tweed made that response, you didn't give us well, let me share what I want to see, because I was concerned when I heard the response.
No. So, as I indicated earlier, we have 108, phase one, we have 108 cameras installed as we write today, active cameras, both license plate readers and CCTV cameras. Those were purchased and installed with the first $1 million of the PFA funds. The $1.5 million now of the DOI funds, we've taken a look now at another 75 plus sites. Based on those 75 sites, we're going to install cameras at those sites. It just so happens, though, that some sites will have one camera versus some will have 3 or 4, depending on the intersections. Okay. That's where she spoke about. She can't tell you the exact amount of cameras, because it would now depend on the cost.
But that's what I just said I have a problem with.
But again, we're talking about...
It shouldn't depend on the cost. You should say what your need is, and then the cost is figured out. Meaning, if you're short $5, then you come to this body in this discussion and say, listen, we have X dollars in federal grants available for this. However, we are short $2. That's all I'm saying. It can't be based on the amount of money we have. Because I asked you what your mission was earlier for a specific reason.
Senator, we have $1.5 million in DOI. We're going to expend the $1.5 million to purchase those cameras.
It's going to cover all of your needs.
Correct.
Okay,
and what is short, we still have an additional $500,000 in FEMA monies for additional cameras.
Okay, so you're covered. So then my concern regarding the response was still spot on. Right. Let's go to...
last question, Senator. Time was been called away.
Time was called?
Long ago.
Oh, my God. Let's talk about the amount of employees, sworn officers that you have on extended leave.
Yes. Which
is a little troubling. Consistent of military, sick, etc. Tell us, how is that impacting your agency? The VIPD. I could just imagine, but it's important that you put it on the record. And also, in some of these instances, I'm certain, this has been a long-standing issue. This is nothing new. But I'm certain that there are things that should be occurring in your HR office if there is any, where I'm going with this.
So any officer that's out on a single day, one officer out every day, impacts our operation.
Go straight to the extended leave.
The extended leaves are the same thing. We've been bringing folks back, those that have not been able to come back. We've been moving folks to forced retirement, to termination. If you can't help us, then we need to move you in the direction where you need to be. Those that have been out on these extended leaves, we're moving them to forced retirement right now. The law is a law is a law. And there's some folks, I'm surprised the unions haven't come to you in some regard, but the law is a law. We have to follow the law.
Your HR is working on it?
Yes, they are.
Okay, thank you so much. Senator Sorrow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Quickly, so your overtime was $19 million last year, roughly. This year, did I hear you right? You're projecting some $23 million?
We project $22 million this year.
$22 million in overtime?
Yes.
And this is coming from a general fund?
Yes.
Nothing coming from CARES Act, funding 1 and 2? Nothing?
No.
What are you doing besides hiring more officers, what are you doing to, manage overtime?
Well...
Because I know some people, a lot I don't want to get killed for this, I know some officers that, decide to go to work because they want to make overtime. Not because there's a need or nobody call them. They just put on a uniform and say, I can go work overtime. It may be necessary, but who's managing that?
Well, and that's been a long-standing issue that
We got on the tide and that overtime.
I'll be the first to admit, Senator, that is something that that is an issue that I myself have been really working on directly with HR, with our personnel, with internal affairs. We just have to get to do a lot better on that.
We got to commit to that, because when people say, hey, I can't get income tax return, you know what you're dipping into, because this isn't budgeted for $22 million, and we have to understand in the government everything is a domino effect. So when one thing goes wrong or we do something in one category, you can't ask me for income. When somebody asks me for income tax check, I just say ask the VIPD, because you're dipping into somebody else's fund that we allocate for our next purpose. So we really have to get, I'm not saying officers don't work. I'm not saying anything. I appreciate what you guys do on the front lines, but we got to get a hold of that $22 million in overtime.
Understood.
Now, let's go to St. John, the Yogan Command. I heard that I know that you have no generator in hurricane season. I know you have mold, have the lights blown out, AC to work on one end, you don't work on the next end. I'm fully aware of the Yogan Command situation. Your testimony says that disaster recovery, you've been working closely with them and FEMA, and the meters have been fruitful, done. Do you have a PW obligated? Have you been able to settle on an amount to fix the Yogan Command and St. John? And that's critical because that is the only police station, right?
Correct. That is correct. It is.
So that's of the utmost importance. So have you been able to settle with FEMA on what the cost would be?
No. What we have, and
who's in charge of the disaster recovery projects? And you?
No, the team is. But I'll have Miss Crescent can speak to.
Who's Miss Crescent?
Exactly
Miss Crescent. Oh, and my time is very precious. What's the meeting with FEMA? Have you agreed on full replacement? Prudent replacement,
so we've
had
conversations with ODR. Obviously, the $247,000 that's allotted is woefully inadequate to take care of what needs to be done. So we've actually gone back through ODR, and ODR on our behalf has requested of FEMA to take a look at it and to reassess it.
So what does that timeline look like? Because hurricane season, something happened, you don't even have a generator.
And that's one of the things why, again, and St. John is even in a place by itself where, again, we're looking at trying to get out of there as soon as possible to effectuate at least to get out of and just get us into some temporary quarters that can
sometimes
sustain.
temporary that become permanent in this government. We don't move out of a building, go temporary, and the other building that we actually own, we leave it there, and it just becomes an eyesore.
Yeah, well,
Zone A Command is an example. Now, quickly, let's go to your crime scene text. What's the discussion with OCB and hazardous pay?
I'm not aware, Mr. Richards.
Hazardous pay is for your crime scene tech. Do you allow that? Is it in a contract?
Currently, Director Richards, it's not in a contract. And currently we're in open negotiations, so I can't really say too much. We just have to wait.
So while you're at that too, I think your crime scene techs also need to be able to, we have a former commissioner and special assistant across the way, but your crime scene techs are out there. I've passed a few of them out there on the front line, pointing little casings next to the bullets. They have no, the vest says police. They don't have any weapon to protect themselves. If anything has to happen to them, people would like to destroy evidence. And I think that we need to do, in that negotiation, hazardous pay. And we may have to look at, I know this is a long-standing issue of our crime scene techs being able to protect themselves, but I think the time has come. We've seen our criminals becoming more ruthless on the streets. So that's something I'm really asking for. Chief of Police, vacancy. Is it still vacant?
Well, it's temporarily filled with, in the St. Thomas district.
You have an acting Chief of Police?
Yes.
Okay, Chief of Police. Plans?
I've got plans for it, yes.
Because we have a lot of acting in a lot of agencies. And after
Understood.
you act for a certain amount of time, you have to pay them, after 2 pay periods, you have to pay them their salary. Okay? So we're going to have one in short order, Chief of Police.
I've got plans for the chief of police position.
What's your, like, you're talking about a week, 2 weeks, a month?
And so I have plans for the position, Senator.
Okay. I ain't like the plans. I like timelines, you know. Now let's go with the salaries. I'm seeing your crime scene text in the salary in the vacancy section, the personal listing. Quickly, do you a crime scene tech with a degree and a non-degree makes the same entrance salary, Mr. Richards?
Correct. Since it's grade, I think it's grade 23-1.
So there's no incentive for somebody that goes to school with a forensic degree. There's no incentive for
just
that.
Just like any classified position, it don't matter if you have a degree. If the starting pay is grade 1, that's the pay. You can request a higher starting pay when they come in, but the only way you become eligible for it, if you currently have members in the department at a lower salary, then it's often difficult to bring somebody at a higher amount.
I'm sure that the chair will drill on that because I
What?
can't see myself going to school, getting a degree in forensic science, and then there's no differentiation. And lastly,
I 100% agree with you.
Okay.
So we are taking variety of steps. One is creating level 1, 2, and 3 to help augment that. As well, in negotiation, we try to address the pay situation.
okay, and lastly, just Mr. Commissioner Martinez, quickly, crossing guard uniforms. We talked about it some time back. They're still in their polo shirts. They don't look nice and adorned. What's the status of the police, not of the crossing guard uniforms? If they did they receive that uniform stipend? That's budget matters. And then your evidence room. What are the plans? Do you have anything in the budget in capital outlay? Because the evidence room and evidence, the chair could tell you about the evidence, it deteriorates. It affects your ability to prosecute. Crime turns into a budget matter because people may not want to come because the crime rate high, blah, blah, blah. So crossing guard uniforms and the status of the evidence room, capital outlay, what's the status on that? Thank you for the latitude, Mr. Chair.
To the school crossing guard uniforms, yes.
Thank you, Senator.
St. Thomas did receive the new polo shirts. They received 3 each.
And St. Croix?
And pants as well. They received pants and...
And can I continue? St.
they
Croix?
received new pants and also they received 3 new polo shirts.
So the crossing guard uniform has transitioned to a polo shirt?
They should have transitioned. If you're still seeing them in the old uniform, then I have to have a conversation with the commander.
Okay, so that is the new uniform, the polo shirt and the pants?
Correct. Because I personally dealt with it, and I personally sent those boxes over to St. Thomas, and they actually signed for those shirts.
And what does the polo shirt have in it?
It says School Crossing Guards, Virginia's Police Department. It has it's multicolored, so it's different colors and it's bright, being that the fact that they direct traffic.
Very, very quickly.
So, Chair, I Googled the crossing guards across the nation. You have your little whistle in your pocket. You could blow your whistle. I think the easy way out was to buy some polo from someplace and put a name on a shirt and say, here's a uniform. We have to do better with the crossing guard uniforms. We have to. That's not a uniform. Thank you for the latitude.
That's a quick response.
Thank you so much.
Based on a meeting I had with school crossing guards, this is what they chose.
No, it shouldn't be what they chose, and it should be what is needed. So we can't just go, oh, they want that. It's got to be what is really the adequate uniform. I don't know if that is what it is. It might be, it might not. But we have officers that are coming up next this week, so I'm sure they can provide some input. Senator Joseph.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. A pleasant, good evening to all of you, and thank you so much for being here, for Virgin Islands Police Department for being here. And I know the men and women in blue are really working hard to protect us and keep us safe. I just need to run down with your CFO some of the actuals, if you haven't given them already, just so we could have some actuals based on year to date, especially in the area of the personnel and fringe. I want to focus on that because we have, I'm looking at the post-audit report, and there is that big $5.7 million reduction. And we want to assure that our citizens remain safe and you have the personnel to respond in times of emergency. We all count on that. Now, tell me, based on your itemized budget, how much do you have year to date for personnel services? How much is your actuals you've expended? You had a budget based on Act 8474 of $47,008,853. How much of that have you expended?
In personnel services, to date, we've expended $40,742,684 in personnel services.
40 million?
742,684.
684.
And in fringe, 11,943,054.
Okay, so your cut is not going to help you. You're going to need that money because you have already expended almost your entire budget. So if you take a cut, right, and you're reducing your budget to 41 million, okay, this is what is being appropriated to you based on your personnel, just the personnel services, meaning even thinking or looking at the fringe. Just the personnel services you're having, and the recommendation is $41,342,224. And year to date, and what date is the 40 million for the personnel that you have so far? You didn't give me a date.
Yes, today's report.
So it would be of August 10th?
Yeah. So that the actuals take into consideration the $17 million in overtime that we currently have expended.
Okay, and that 17 million in overtime included what services? This didn't have anything to do with the COVID task force, correct? Because that has to be paid out of COVID federal monies. So what that overtime included?
That overtime included overtime worked by enforcement officers. It included overtime worked for COVID that we're getting reimbursed for.
Okay, so you are supposed to be able to pull out that overtime for COVID because those monies are supposed to be covered under federal funds.
They have to be paid through the general fund and then reimbursed. So
okay,
we have.
So we need to just remove that because you should be able to get reimbursed for that. Okay, so how much is that overtime for the COVID task force?
1.2 million.
Okay.
2 minutes.
1.2 million.
Okay, and that's not a significant amount. But go ahead. And this is what other overtime you were indicating?
That was it. It was overtime for outside agencies that work the COVID.
So you covered, so let me just understand. The VI Police Department covered the whole amount of overtime payment for the COVID task force?
Yes, we do.
Out of your allotment?
Yes, we do.
That's okay, correct. To the tune of what?
We pay 1.2 million.
Okay, that's just the overtime. That's just the overtime, 1.2 million.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm understanding. Okay, but still, if you subtract 1.2 million from the 40 million and some of your fringe benefit, you're still going to be grossly undercutting yourself and being unmanned based on your recommended budget. And that's why you need to really let us know how much you're going to need, because you're not going to be able to protect and serve us, your citizen, in the manner that you need to do, and especially if you're looking to also ramp up your personnel services. So that's some of my question. Now let's just get down to the other services that you provide, and tell me some of the actuals. I'm not going into most of the actuals here, but we are going to need the actuals in the budget markup. The Police Athletic League, St. Thomas and St. John, how much of the of the monies that you have expended based on Act 8474? You got an appropriation and you're asking for the same amount, $40,000. How much of that have you expended?
Time.
Mr. Chairman? I'm going to need the actuals for all of these line itemized budget items based on Act 8474. We're going to, it's necessary for us, and it needs to be as recent as possible, because that helps us to be able to build a budget for this year, you know, the incoming fiscal year 2023. That's how we know how much you're going to need. This 41 million ain't gonna walk. I gonna tell you right now, ain't gonna walk for you, because you already expended $40 million and we ain't finished with the fiscal year yet.
Conclude.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I would ask that VIPD submit their actuals based on the line itemized budget outlined in Act 8474 to us, so we could at least have that information provided. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
So if you're able to get that, Ms. Webster, before we leave, that would be fine. I just want to point out that in the 2022 budget, we did allocate some $13.9 million for overtime. So we included overtime in the FY22 budget to the tune of almost $14 million. Okay? No, she spent $17 million in overtime thus far. $14 million of that was in the FY22 budget. Quickly, Senator Javan James. I need to go to St. Croix, Senator.
You have a charter flight, man. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the time. A quick point of inquiry along the same line of questioning that we had earlier with the camera systems. I know in the Christian State Town and the Frederick State Town, we do have camera systems prior to the newly installed camera systems that was put in place by the VIPD. Without saying much, because I don't want to let out certain information, but as far as a cost and assessment that has been done by the Virgin Islands Police Department to get those up and running, can you speak to that? Do you want to put that? Do you need funding to be placed in this budget to get those cameras revived? Because as you know, you have a shortage, and your guys can't be everywhere. But those are your eyes and ears as far as the camera systems in Frederick State Town and Christian State Town. There are cameras. Can you speak to that as far as funding to be put in the budget?
Thank you, Senator.
So, Senator, the cameras you spoke about were destroyed by Irma and Maria. We received funding from FEMA. I think for St. Croix, it's roughly just over $600,000, and for St. Thomas, St. John, it says just under, I think it's $900,000. So we have that additional funding to replace cameras in those areas. So when we start speaking about the cameras, we're talking about $1 million from the PFA, $1.5 million from DOI, and in addition to that, this from St. Croix, an additional $600,000 plus, and in St. Thomas, St. John, an additional $900,000. So we are pretty much set at this point with monies for camera systems and for the LPRs.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I just needed to correct a question that you asked earlier about where the data is stored for the camera systems. I stand corrected. The data for St. Croix is stored on St. Croix at this juncture, and the data for St. Thomas is being stored here on St. Thomas.
And the data for St. John? St. Thomas?
St. Thomas.
Okay, thank you so much. Senator Johnson, you're recognized.
Good evening to all. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Good evening to my colleagues. Good evening to the testifiers. Commissioner, I remember when you came here, I said to you, if you can get 50% of what you spoke about going, we'll be in good shape. And I still stand to that. What's the percentage of personnel issued body cams in the police department?
So we have, Senator, we have two We have. If you just give me 1 second,
My time is going on this
So
year. I gotta go.
So we're looking at so 90% of our personnel are trained in the body cameras, and all of our uniformed officers, 90% of our uniformed officers are wearing body cams from the chiefs right down.
The officer that got knocked down, did he have on a body cam?
I'm not certain. I'll have to refer that question to Chief Santos.
That, Senator, I'll have to check into the system to see if that body cam was on. And when I mean on, if it was on his body or on as activated. Don't know if he was investigating the case at that time, sir. But majority, as per policy, when they're out on the field and in uniform, those body cams are on, sir.
This doesn't sound right. Your officer was knocked some 80 feet. And today when I asked him this question, nobody can't answer that and has to check into this. This doesn't sound good at all. Commissioner, in your entire testimony, I didn't hear you speak anything about your K9 dogs. What's the status on your fleet of K9 dogs, and do you need more K9 dogs?
Senator, we have 4 active dogs in each K9 dogs in each district. And we have funding set aside from donors for additional K9s. We just at this juncture don't have the personnel and the vehicles to house those dogs, to accept those dogs right now, additional dogs.
Now, if I'm right, you went to New York with a team. I think the governor and a few of your staff went to New York to look into the camera system. My question to you, the camera system that you signed New York, that's the camera system we have here in the Virgin Islands?
Senator, we didn't go to New York to look at the camera system. We went to New York to look at the real-time crime center.
No, okay, all right. What about the cameras that we put in place? Can they read license plate?
Yes, they can. And are.
All right.
And they are.
We had an accident by Jiffy Mart. Saturday gone. How much information did those cameras give you?
I'm not certain.
Anybody?
I'm not certain as to the incident that you're speaking about, Senator. I'll have to check with the chiefs or the investigators on that.
What I would like to request from you, Commissioner, for time's sake, I would like to come and see your camera in live time and see what is being shown and what can be seen. Because I'm not getting a good feel of the cameras that we have in place, if there was what our purchase, and if they're doing the job that we need them to do. So on your time, I'm requesting, you tell me, I make myself available. I would like to see these cameras and see how they're operating. You spoke about $1 million for shot spotters, and I remember some time back, we don't have sufficient shot spotters covering the territory. And I'm specifically speaking about St. Croix. I know areas that when I spoke to the prior commissioner,
2 minutes.
He said particular areas didn't have shot spotters. With this $1 million, would it be sufficient to cover the territory in most of the areas that are frequent for gun shooting?
Yes, sir. Yes, it will. It will take us from 4.6 square miles where we're at now to 9.2 square miles territorially.
And that's sufficient as far as from your perspective?
Yes, it would. Coupled with all the other technology we're putting in place.
Why aren't the auxiliary officers available the opportunity to have insurance?
That is a question that's been coming up most recently. It is something that the as I understand it, a lot of it has to do with the fact that the auxiliary officers are part-time, and that I don't recall if it's the personnel rules or the statute itself prevents them from that. But again, that is something I'll have to look into, or I can refer the question to my HR director if he knows the answer to that.
But
Mayor HR.
Director Richards, they can't get insurance is because they're part-time. But I am in conversation with division personnel after reviewing the law to switch the auxiliary position to a full-time auxiliary position. By doing that, they'll be eligible for insurance and all the other benefits of a full-time employee.
GRS.
And GRS.
This is a little risky hearing this, because any of these men or women that's solving us right now. So who will take care of the medical expense if they're supposed to get out on the job?
Work.
If they get shoot? Who assists these people?
They're fully covered by workers' comp.
Time.
But excuse me?
They're fully covered by
workmen come to cover their medical expenses?
Correct. So if they injured, workers' comp will deal with their therapy, their any medical expense they may have. They need to be flown out of the territory for any emergency surgery because they were injured on the job. Workers' comp will cover them.
Thank you very much. I heard my time being called, and I don't want the mic to get shut off on me. So thank you very much. But Commissioner, again, I would really appreciate if you afford me the opportunity to come and see what we're seeing on these cameras. I really would like to see that. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Johnson. Senator Francis.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and good evening to everyone. Commissioner, please take a few seconds to defend the surveillance cameras and the effectiveness of the surveillance cameras. I don't want for the public to believe that, in fact, that there is some dummy cameras out there that's dysfunctional or not capturing any information.
Thank you, Senator. Again, the cameras, as I indicated in my testimony, have done a yo person's job in providing us with information that has led to an inordinate amount of information. While it, that from to direct arrests, or as well as to just information that our detectives have utilized to move them even closer to arrest, from homicides right on down to doing even better with the issuing traffic citations, and a host of other crimes in between. It's important for the public to understand, Senator, that the surveillance cameras and the LPRs are not the save-all. They are a tool that has to be used and incorporated in all our other initiatives, and that's exactly what we're utilizing them for.
Very well. And also in respect to the real-time crime center, that in fact that will assist and support the surveillance cameras as well once they're monitored 24/7 or for some period of time, so that the information can be readily available to the officers on the street. Is that correct?
Oh, that's correct, Senator.
Very well. So, Commissioner, in your testimony today, you spoke about 317 officers, and that is of grave concern to me. I think that there needs to be a very, very active recruitment and retention campaign by the Virgin Islands Police Department, because we should not allow for the continued bleeding of officers and not being able to fill those positions. It's become very critical. 317 officers, 22 separation, 34 that's out on some type of leave is very, very concerning to me. What do you believe is your short? How many officers do you believe that you're short in order for you to continue to carry out your mission statement at optimum levels?
Minimally, I would say 35 officers more per district for starters, and probably 20 auxiliaries per district would help us to get over the cusp of where we're at right now, and those numbers would lend tremendously to decreasing our some of our overtime expenditures, some of the burnout that we're experiencing with our rank and file at this time, as well as assisting with increasing the longevity of some of the officers that we have.
Very well, and I heard some discussion about the uniforms and the both for our school crossing guard as well as police officers. We would admit that in fact the current uniforms are extremely dark at night, and I think it's critical that there's some hazard vests that should be worn, especially after dark, so that individuals that's involved in traffic stops, traffic enforcement, or just out of the patrol in dark areas, especially in light of our police being so dark, our communities being so dark, our highway being so dark. I think it's critical that as part of the PPEs, that they should have access to hazard vests. What do you think about that?
Senator, you are on point. We have
2 minutes.
Being told that we've already have some officers were already issued vests. Others and other vests are already on order.
Okay. What about explosive unit? Is there any intent for us to once again re-engage, reactivate the explosive unit?
Yes, Senator. We can ill afford to have to utilize the folks out of Puerto Rico to come in when we have large-scale incidents. Again, the issue is that our equipment was not maintained over years. We've already started to reach out to the ATF. The equipment has to be all turned back in and reissued. Of course, we're going to have to go through the grant process. So unfortunately, we're not speaking about something that's going to be done over time. You, as much as I know how long it took for us to obtain what we have. So we're looking at a minimum of a process that can take easily anywhere from about 9 months on up to probably 18 months for us to get that unit reactivated.
Very well. And in respect to the Patrick Sweeney retrofit, is it the intent of the police department to rebuild Patrick Sweeney in its current footprint?
No, Senator. The intent is based on the specs and based on our recommendations is to triple the size of the Patrick Sweeney headquarters.
In its current location?
No, sir. Senator, my recommendation, again, we're doing soil boring tests right now on most of the property around. And based on the findings of those tests, we are going to move the building from its current location and place it based on those testing results in the area that is best suited for the type of structure that we're going to put back.
Time.
Very well. Mr. Chair, just two more real quick.
Go ahead.
Commissioner, what is your 3 areas of priorities as you go into fiscal year 2023? This budget, 3 areas that you intend to work hard on. 3 areas of priorities.
Senator, my 3 priorities, I would say, of course, first and foremost is increasing our ranks, both on the sworn side and on the civilian side, because again, we tend to, because it's the police department, to overlook the fact that we're short in many of our civilian areas as well. And that's where the bread and butter is, as far as bringing in funds to the department. Secondly, of course, the real-time crime center is a high priority. And third, it is revamping our operational prowess, getting back and getting a true operational plan in progress that is going to assist us with not just responding to calls, but actually decrease overtime and increase the activities of the department from an operational standpoint.
Very well. Thank you, Mr. Chair. If you could just have Ms. Webster give us a wrap-up in terms of rental costs on your time, I'll appreciate it. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you so much, Senator Francis. You have any new numbers, Ms. Webster, for?
Yes. Not new. Same. Okay, so if you refer to the post-audit report of fiscal year 2022, page 9 910. Our appropriation for our rent is $999,132.
Yes.
Once the budget was transferred to the ERP, it was $468,547.
Okay.
Therein lies $530,000 difference in our rent. So of course, it's looking like
Okay, one second. Page 9.
of post audit report from last year. Our appropriation was
okay.
supposed to be $999,132. Page 9 and 10 of fiscal year 2022 post audit. That is our appropriation amount. When it was transferred to the ERP, it was transferred in the amount of $468,547. So it looks like our rent is now $1 million. However, there's a difference of $530,000 that was not put on our rent schedule in the ERP. Our rent actually increased by $474,000, not $1 million.
Okay, so but that was a problem at OMB in reference to how the information was transferred.
Yes.
Okay, and now your rent is 900 and
Our rent is
$956,072 for St. Croix and $517,108 for St. Thomas.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Senator Gittins. There? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good evening to all. It's now 6:56 p.m. The previously, Commissioner, you were asked about government-owned properties to operate out of. And according to you on page 11, you have some 11 rental spaces totaling some $1.4 million. You also spoke to moving into a Castle Coakley office space location. I wanted to ask the CFO, how much monies are we paying for this Castle Coakley location per month or annually?
Senator, that's $194,400 annually.
$194,000 annually?
$194,400.
And how long have we been paying for this office space? We've entered into an agreement from about December 2019 and have been paying for this office space from December 2019. And we just started to occupy this building in March. I'm saying this to say, and this is predating your appointment, that we could have taken some of this money and put it towards Act 8437, where this body authorized the transfer of government-owned property in Hannah's Rest and St. Croix for the construction of a state-of-the-art modern-day police station. And we're also looking to propose the same for St. Thomas, for it to have a government-owned state-of-the-art police station on the eastern end. In addition to having this state-of-the-art, and Commissioner, you are on the walkthrough, and you see that the property is conducive to also set up your motor pool and an impound lot, which will generate funds to this government. I will reach out to your office to see if we could make some movements on this. Now, there were talks about the manpower strength, and we have seen a little different on this as the previous commissioner, but I wanted to ask, have you all done a deployment strategy plan, a new deployment strategy plan?
We have not, Senator, and again, it's philosophical differences. I do not believe that there is such a thing as a deployment strategy. It's either a deployment plan or a strategy towards how we're going to operate.
However we do it, we need to strategize and put the plan in place. I'm looking at the number, and I don't want to repeat the number because I never like to put out the number of sworn officers in the public. But looking at the numbers again, if we were to strategize, we can do this, because it will take, and I will dare to say this, it will take 90 sworn personnel per district to be able to man at least 2 police stations on St. Croix and on St. Thomas. And you will have adequate manpower on all 3 shifts without killing the same officers over and over that has to stay over for overtime. We're talking about $17 to $18 million in overtime.
2 minutes.
Which brings me to ask the HR director, are you conducting exit interviews?
Correct. We are conducting exit interviews. Correct. We are conducting exit interviews.
Good. And I'm hoping that we're tracking to see what's being said in the exit interviews. Now, I want to ask, are you doing any stay interviews?
Currently
and
not.
Stay interviews are for those who we hear through the grapevine looking to leave and whatnot. These officers before it's too late.
You kind of broke up for a second.
Stay interviews. Are you conducting any stay interviews for officers that we're looking to lose?
Currently not at this time.
So I would suggest that we look at some stay interviews to see if we could hold personnel from leaving. We need to see what we can do to retain our officers within the territory. We spend a lot of money on training these officers. Now, on page 8, may I conclude here, Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Senator.
I'll skip that. Let me go straight to, I'll close out with the premium pay. Whether or not we have submitted all documentation to the Office of Management and Budget for the premium pay, because I know that there's a number of officers, ranking officers and tenured officers that make in excess of $70,000. I want to know if all those officers' names and information was submitted to the Office of Management and Budget.
That is correct. A spreadsheet was submitted to Vigilance Police Department to complete to verify each and every employee. That was done so by the payroll unit and was resubmitted to Division Personnel and OMB.
And that's from the rank of commissioner right down, correct?
That listing contains every single employee that worked during that period of time. We just had to verify.
That includes commissioner right down, correct?
Every single employee.
Sometimes we don't answer the simple.
They may not be eligible for it.
From the commissioner right down, correct?
Correct. From the commissioner to below is an overall listing, and we have to indicate if they qualify for the premium pay, yes or no, based on the qualification that was set by OMB.
It was a simple one thing answer, you know. All I wanted to make sure was from the commissioner right down, name was submitted for this premium pay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much, Senator Gittin. Senator Whitaker.
Good evening. Good evening, Chairman. Good evening, colleagues. Good evening, Central staff. Good evening to listening viewing audience. Good evening to our testifiers. Commissioner, I want to just jump right in here on page 8 of your testimony. Of course, as you know, you and I have been over since you got even assumed your position, have been really back and forth with this Office of Interior grant, and I'm just a little concerned because the last communication we had was back in June, where much of what you're saying in your testimony around the approval of the Army Corps of Engineers. Can you really give a timeline? Are we gonna? This grant has been opened up since 2020, correct? And it's a 5-year period. Can you really express the urgency of moving forward? Because we've had this kind of, back and forth over the cameras for quite some time. And, what is the real timeline with this?
The Senator, you're asking for us to provide you with a real timeline. The real timeline is that we, again, in June, we had the conversation. We obtained the Army Corps of Engineers approval. I think just in the last week, based on my testimony, we received the quote from the vendor, and we're reviewing that quote right now. Moving forward, the next steps are, once we review the quote, is to, and again, what the next steps is, I think is best for me to just have my IT director to answer that question, what the next steps as far as moving this along would be. And if I may, I can have Ms. Tweed answer that.
Please, go ahead.
Kishana Tweed. After we have finalized the quote, the next step would be to amend the existing contract that we have with the vendor for the cameras that are in place right now. So as soon as we have finalized the quote, then we will proceed to amending that contract. And then once that contract is approved, that amendment to the contract, then we will have a timeline as to when the installation will begin for the expansion of the cameras.
Okay. Yeah, because it just seems, this a bottleneck, and we just continue on, and even just the whole process. So just hoping you guys can continue to move it on, so we don't, we keep talking about the cameras. It's like just constantly talking about the cameras, and it just seems like a circle of discussion. But I appreciate the fact that you're all moving forward, but I believe you have to speed it up. And also too, as I would also respecting my position with Interior to give me the information as well as the body in general. We shouldn't also have to wait for the hearings to get certain updates. On page 19 of a testimony, Commissioner, you indicated that out of the 47 project worksheets, and you indicate approximately, let me see how much it was, the $4,383,000 and $635 are pending completeness checks. Can you really clarify what you mean by completeness checks when you say it's pending completeness checks, and what type of equipment are we talking about? What type of worksheets does these entail? Because that's a pretty large number still outstanding.
Ms. Webster?
We're continuing to verify the information requested by EY and with O'Brien. So we continue to make sure that the information that we're submitting is accurate, and the justifications are provided, and the invoices are provided to them. So.
Yeah, because we're clocking some years now since the hurricanes, and I just sometimes it just seems there's always a lot of delays, and you're supposed to, with O'Brien's supposed to really help with the process, and it just doesn't seem like it's really working out that well for us. The Commissioner, I've asked this question before. You've come before this committee on professional development. What is the actual budget for this year for professional development of the rank and file staff?
Again,
2 minutes.
Ms. Webster can provide that for you.
Professional development for the entire department is $402,000 for this year.
And can you break down some of the elements of the professional development? Is this software? Is this obviously training? can you really break down some of those numbers? What do you have? 360 reviews? Are you all doing updating the evaluation system?
We have the instructor trainings for instructors to come down to do in-service training for the officers. We have off-island training, and we also have online training.
I would really suggest that you all get into a more regimental evaluation. That simple form that is used throughout government is not really a proper tool of evaluation. And I've continued to cross that bridge with division personnel. So we got to really elevate how we evaluate rank and file, and not just training component is important, but we have to actually put funds towards actual evaluations. I want to follow up on my colleague's question around the school security. There are a lot of fights going on campus constantly, and also to address truancy. Commissioner, are you collaborating with, who are you collaborating in order to execute school security? In other words, you state that this is part of a crime prevention activity effort.
No, Senator, I didn't say it's a part of the crime prevention effort. It's a part of our response to our operational response efforts. So the School Security Bureau collaborates daily. We've got officers in the major middle and high schools. The School Security Bureau collaborates daily with the Department of Education. When we start speaking about truancy, again, that really goes towards the Department of Human Services in collaboration more with the Department of Education. Of course, we have stepped in over the years and assisted them with a number of these initiatives. It is something that has not been followed in as much as it should be. But again, we've just in the end of the last school year, we started having again more conversations because of the urgency of it, and it's going to follow through this year as well.
Time.
Yeah, I just hope to see more presence of police presence, but you're doing so in such a way that you're with following up. When you said that human services is the lead, I still think the police department has a role where the officers even do presentations to the schools, something like we had the DARE program, and just, you become more engaged in the school activities. Thank you so much for the time, Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Whitaker. Before we close the meeting, U.S. Department of Transportation grants, all of them are expiring 9/30/2022. Have they been spent?
No, Senator, they have not been spent. However,
who's in charge of grants now?
The highway safety grants are still Ms. Daphne O'Neill.
And we have had the same problem for the last 8 years I've been in here, and no change, and the monies just continue to go back, and it's always an excuse as to where we can spend the money. I'm looking at the monies here. This is easily over $2 million.
So if I may,
$3 million.
If I may, Senator, we haven't had any monies deobligated for fiscal year 2022. Based on the highway safety plan, I myself have stepped in. We've had the conversations with NHTSA. Those monies are being forwarded over to 2023. And
the monies, I understand, and I thank you for getting an extension, but the monies have to be spent. The monies are to sit there and ask for an extension every year. Some of these monies we had from 2021. Some from some of the grants go back to 2018. The monies are to be spent, and highway safety needs to develop a plan to spend the money, not to ask for extension consistently. And that is one of the problems that we're having with central government, in which monies are not being spent, and we ask for an extension from the feds, and then we ask for an next extension from the feds, and then the monies are returned. So Ms. O'Neill needs to be told that she needs to complete her job and spend the money, come up with a plan. There are monies here for e-citation, CVSP, Occupant Protection Management Program, impaired driving management program. There's so much creative stuff that could be done out of the department to utilize those grant monies. Just do it.
So, Senator, if that's the point I was trying to get at, is the fact that in the system right now, there's approximately close to $3 million. I'm sorry, over $2 million, I think $2.6 million that is in the pipeline to be spent by highway safety on all of those very same projects that you spoke about.
Okay. You had the same problem when you've been in LEPC, you know, that they won't spend the monies you were giving to them. So
again,
don't cover now because it was right there a couple of years about LEPC. You're giving them the money, they won't spending it. So you're there now. You got to make sure that they spend the monies.
Agreed.
All of your positions are funded at 50%. So you need to work out a strategy as to how you're going to be able to bring individuals on. If you have a class early this year, or bring civilian on, you got to come up with a plan because it literally cuts your position in half. So where you have 41 new police officers, but if you cut it in half, that's 20.5, 14 vacant police officers, and they also seem to be cut in half, and 18 auxiliary. That's really 9 because it's cut in half. So we need to look at those numbers and see exactly what it is, because that is going to be a bit more to the budget, and that's one of the reasons why it's 41 million, because you have almost 70 positions that are funded at 50%. So how much of that 70 position vacant and new positions do you believe you're going to be able to hire? What is the time period to get them on? If you think you could get individuals on in October, then they need to be funded at 100%. If you want to get them on in January, they need to be funded at 75%, March 50%. So we need to get that data. We will be definitely calling you during markup for some specific concerns that I am sure my colleagues always have in terms of trying to make sure that the police department is funded adequately. I want to end by that Castle Coakley property. We spent $800,000 almost before we move in for one day. $800,000. We have had that rent for 4 years. That lease empty. And those monies could have gone someplace else. So those in the community that get upset when I speak about rental, that is what I talk about, fiscal responsibility. You can't spend $800,000 and nobody's in there. And then as soon as you talk about rent, whoever is the landowner, they get all upset and they say I don't like them. But my job is the finance chair, and I got to be responsible in making decisions and making sure that this government has adequate money to spend. And when we save money is when we're able to pay tax returns. So I want to thank you for being here. I want you to put a short closing statement on the record, and we're going to call it a night.
All right. Again, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for affording my team and I the opportunity to present our fiscal year 2023 budget recommendations to you this afternoon, this evening. I'd also like to thank my team here with me and those who are live streaming for all of the time they took for us to just be ready to come to present. And then I'd like to also thank just all of our men and women in blue, and as well as our civilian staff for the work they put in each and every day. They're the ones that actually make the department into what it is today, and I appreciate the work that they all do. Lastly, I'd like to just thank the community for the assistance they've been providing our department as of late with the information they provided on a number of crimes, and I just ask and urge them to continue to work alongside us. Again, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for having us today.
Thank you so much, and I want to give a special thanks to media. Media, thank you. It has been a very long day from 9 o'clock this morning with just a short 25-minute break, and you guys have stuck through it. So I just want to tell you I appreciate that you've been here working the entire meeting, because you're the one entity that really can't leave and go down and take a break. So thank you, media. Thank my staff. Mr. Krieger is here with me late tonight. So thank you. The Committee of Finance is hereby adjourned.